The protein bar hit the floor with a dull thud, and Marcus Chen didn't flinch. He'd been at the Galactic Military Academy for 3 weeks, long enough to know that picking it up would invite more trouble. The Corinthian cadet Vexthor, built like a boulder with too many arms, sneered down at him, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among his kind. "This is what humans eat?" Vexthor's translator rendered his words with perfect contempt. "Compressed waste? No wonder your species barely qualifies for atmospheric flight." 4 more cadets circled closer. A Velcorin with scales that shifted purple with amusement. 2 Dreknathi twins, their crystalline bodies refracting the cafeteria lights. A Sulkari whose tentacles writhed in anticipation of a fight that regulations said couldn't happen. Marcus recognized the formation. Classic pack tactics, designed to intimidate without crossing into actionable violence. They'd done this before, to others. Humans were still new to the Galactic Coalition, still proving themselves worthy of the uniform. Marcus stood slowly, leaving the protein bar where it lay. Around them, the cafeteria noise dimmed. Other cadets watched with the careful disinterest of those who'd learned not to intervene. The Academy's doctrine was clear. Conflicts between cadets built character. Instructors only stepped in when blood was spilled or bones were broken. "That's 3 days of rations," Marcus said quietly. His voice carried no anger, just a statement of fact. Standard issue for human metabolism during deep space operations. 1,100 calories, balanced macros, stable for 5 years in vacuum. Vexthor's laugh boomed. "You catalog food like inventory. Do humans taste nothing? Feel nothing? We feel plenty." Marcus met the Corinthian's 4 eyes without blinking. "We just don't waste energy on display." The Velcrin cadet, SS Rith, stepped closer, tongue flicking out to taste the air. Such confidence from a species that needed rescue from their own moon. "Your first orbital station collapsed, yes?" "Killed dozens before the Talvari taught you basic gravitational mathematics." The Dreknathi twins hummed in harmony, a sound that made human inner ears ache. "Fragile bones, weak immune systems, requiring constant temperature regulation. And yet they swagger into our academy as if they belong." Marcus felt the familiar weight settle into his shoulders, the same weight he'd carried through selection trials on Earth. They'd told him it would be different out here, among the stars. They'd lied. Bullies existed everywhere, in every species. They just wore different skins and spoke different languages. "Your lunch offends us," Vexthor said, grinding the protein bar under his boot. The wrapper split, spilling brown chunks across the polished floor. "As your presence offends this institution, perhaps you should return to your little blue world and leave warfare to species that evolved for it." The Sulkari's tentacles brushed Marcus's shoulder, not quite touching, not quite threatening. "Nothing to say, human? No witty response from your famous Earth combat dramas?" Marcus looked at each of them in turn. 3 weeks of this. 3 weeks of finding his belongings relocated, his assignment schedules mysteriously altered, his food contaminated or destroyed. The Academy's blind eye policy extended far when the victims were human. Too unproven. Too politically inconvenient to defend. "I'm going to give you one chance," Marcus said. The cafeteria had gone completely silent now. Even the food dispensers seemed to pause their mechanical humming, walk away. "All of you. Right now." Vexthor's mandibles spread wide in what Marcus had learned was Corinthian amusement. "Or what? You'll report us? File a grievance with the Commandant?" "We've broken no regulations, human. We simply expressed our cultural distaste for inferior sustenance." "No reports." Marcus shifted his weight almost imperceptibly, his center of gravity dropping. "I'm offering you the dignity of walking away before you humiliate yourselves." Srith's scales flashed bright orange. Aggression. Bold words from prey species. "We're not prey," Marcus said. "We're survivors. There's a difference." The Dreknathi twins moved first, their crystalline forms deceptively fast. Marcus had studied their physiology in xenobiology class. Rigid structure, incredible strength, but joints that only flexed in specific directions. He dropped low as they reached for him, swept left and drove his elbow into the nearest one's knee joint with surgical precision. The crystal fractured with a sound like breaking glass. The Dreknathi shrieked and collapsed. Vexthor lunged, all 4 arms reaching. Marcus remembered his grandfather's words from childhood. "Bigger opponents always expect you to retreat." He stepped forward instead, inside the Corinthian's reach, where those massive arms couldn't generate leverage. His palm strike caught Vexthor in the throat, right where the chitinous plates separated. The Corinthian's translator emitted a strangled wheeze as he stumbled backward. The Solkari's tentacles whipped toward him, but Marcus had trained in Earth's oceans with creatures that made the alien look sluggish. He caught two tentacles, twisted them together, and used the Solkari's own momentum to send it crashing into a table. Food trays exploded across the floor. Srith came at him with claws extended, a hissing battle cry in his native tongue. Marcus sidestepped, grabbed the Velcrin's arm, and redirected the charge straight into the wall. Srith hit hard enough to dent the metal plating. The second Dreknathi, seeing its twin writhing on the floor, hesitated. That hesitation costed everything. Marcus closed the distance in 2 steps and delivered a precise kick to its center mass. More crystal fractured. It went down beside its sibling. 15 seconds. 5 opponents. The cafeteria erupted in shocked silence. Marcus picked up what remained of his protein bar, brushed off the debris, and took a bite. It tasted like chalk and chemicals, but it was his and he was hungry. Around him, cadets from a dozen species stared with expressions ranging from disbelief to something that might have been respect. At the far end of the cafeteria, near the officer's observation deck, a figure moved. Marcus's enhanced peripheral vision, another gift of human evolution, caught the motion. Not an instructor. The uniform was different. Royal Guards didn't typically visit the academy. The guard was Velthrin, tall and angular, with skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Her eyes, solid black and multifaceted, tracked Marcus's every movement. She didn't approach, didn't speak. She simply watched with the patience of someone who'd witnessed violence in its purest forms, and found this display mildly interesting. Vexthor pushed himself upright, wheezing. "You broke protocol." "I broke your ribs," Marcus corrected. "Protocol says cadets can resolve disputes through sanctioned combat." "You initiated." "Unless you want to file a formal complaint and explain to the Commandant why 5 of you couldn't handle 1 human." The Corinthian's mandibles clicked rapidly. Fear, not amusement. Around them, other cadets began to murmur. Word would spread. The new human, the one they'd all dismissed as another weak addition from that backwater planet, had just demonstrated exactly why Earth had survived long enough to reach the stars. Marcus finished his protein bar, wadded up the wrapper, and deposited it in the nearest waste receptacle. When he turned back, the Velthrin guard was gone. The observation deck stood empty, but Marcus had seen her insignia before she disappeared. Royal Guard. Which meant she wasn't just passing through. She'd come specifically to observe something, or someone. The cafeteria slowly returned to its normal chaos, but everything had changed. Marcus felt the shift in how others looked at him now. Not prey, not inferior, just different. And in the Galactic Coalition, different could mean dangerous. He gathered his tray and headed for the exit, leaving Vexthor and his crew to pick themselves up. 3 weeks of torment, 15 seconds to end it. His instructors on Earth had warned him this moment would come, that he'd face a choice between enduring abuse and proving humanity's worth through force. He'd chosen force. Now he'd live with the consequences. The corridor outside the cafeteria stretched toward the training wings, and Marcus's next class awaited. Advanced Combat Theory. He wondered if today's practical demonstration would earn him a commendation or a court-martial. With the Galactic Coalition, it could go either way. Behind him, medical personnel rushed into the cafeteria. Ahead, the Academy's vast windows showed the darkness of space peppered with distant stars. Somewhere out there, Earth turned blue, and oblivious to the reputation its children were building among the galaxies. Marcus walked on, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor, unaware that in the royal chambers 3 systems away, a queen had just received a very interesting report about a human cadet who moved like violence incarnate and spoke like he had nothing left to lose. The investigation into humanity's potential had officially begun, and Marcus Chen had just become its primary subject without even knowing it. The next 48 hours would determine not just his future at the Academy, but whether humanity would be recognized as warriors or classified as a threat to galactic peace. The line between the two had never been thinner, and Marcus had just erased what little remained with 5 fallen bodies and 1 destroyed lunch. In the observation room, now abandoned, surveillance equipment continued recording, transmitting data to recipients Marcus couldn't imagine and wouldn't recognize. The cafeteria incident had been witnessed by exactly the right person at exactly the right time, and coincidence had nothing to do with it. Queen Velshara of the Velthrin Empire had been searching for something specific, a quality that her species recognized from ancient histories but thought extinct in the modern galaxy. She'd found it in an unexpected place, wrapped in human skin and fueled by compressed nutrients that her entire court would mock without understanding their significance. The protein bar represented more than food. It was efficiency, survival, adaptation. Human traits that the galaxy had underestimated for too long. Marcus reached his classroom and paused at the threshold. Inside, cadets from 15 different species pretended not to stare at him. The instructor, a grizzled Corthan with battle scars across every visible surface, simply nodded once. Acknowledgement. Not approval, but recognition. Marcus took his seat and activated his datapad. The lesson began, but his mind remained partially in that cafeteria, replaying each movement, analyzing what he could have done better. It was a human trait. This constant self-evaluation, this refusal to accept victory without examining its cost. Other species celebrated wins. Humans studied them for weaknesses. 3 rows back, a Velthran cadet named Silthresh watched Marcus with new understanding. She'd heard her people's legends about warriors who fought, not from rage, but from calculation, who turned every conflict into a lesson. Her grandmother had told stories about the old ones, species now extinct who had possessed such qualities. Seeing it in a human changed everything she thought she knew about the galaxy's newest members. The lesson continued. Marcus absorbed information about Corinthian combat formations, while simultaneously running through 17 different scenarios for what would happen when Vex Thor's family demanded retribution. Because they would. Corinthians never forgot humiliation, and 5 witnesses meant the story was already spreading across Academy networks. By evening meal, every cadet would know. By morning, it would reach the instructors officially. By the end of the week, Marcus would either be celebrated or expelled. There was no middle ground when you fought 5 opponents and won. Outside the classroom windows, a royal transport arrived at the Academy's primary docking bay. Its hull bore the insignia of Queen Velishara's personal fleet, a crimson spiral on midnight black. Marcus didn't see it arrive. Didn't know that his life was about to change in ways that would ripple across star systems. He was too busy taking notes on tactical formations, preparing for exams, surviving another day at an academy that had never expected humans to excel. The Queen's Guard who'd watched him fight entered the Commandant's office without announcement. Royal prerogative. She carried footage of the cafeteria incident and authorization to recruit 1 human cadet for purposes that remained classified at the highest levels. The Commandant, a Tal'Vari administrator with centuries of experience, watched the footage twice before speaking. When he finally did, his words would set in motion events that neither he nor Marcus could prevent. The human had demonstrated something the galaxy thought it had bred out through millennia of civilization and peace. He'd shown the capacity for immediate, precise violence without hesitation or regret. And Queen Velshara needed exactly that quality for a mission that would either save her empire or destroy it. The choice to recruit Marcus had already been made. The only question remaining was whether he would accept when the offer came, and what price humanity would pay for lending one of its children to a conflict they didn't yet understand. The Commandant's office smelled of ozone and old leather. Strange, since neither material existed in its original form anymore. Replicated scents for species that found comfort in olfactory familiarity. Marcus stood at attention, eyes forward, breathing controlled. He'd been summoned exactly 4 hours after the cafeteria incident. Faster than expected. Commandant Talvan regarded him with 3 of his 7 eyes, while the others tracked movements in the hallway beyond. Tal'Vari multitasking, simultaneously intimidating and efficient. Behind the Commandant, floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the Academy's orbital position above Nexus Prime, the Coalition's administrative heart. Cadet Chen. Thelvan's voice carried harmonics that human ears interpreted as disappointment. 5 injured cadets, 2 requiring reconstructive surgery, 1 diplomatic incident involving the Corinthian ambassador, and 17 witness accounts that contradict each other in fascinating ways. Marcus said nothing. Silence was safer than explanation. Some witnesses claim you attacked without provocation. Others insist it was self-defense. A few suggest you were defending Earth's honor against systematic harassment. Thelvan's primary eyes fixed on Marcus. What do you claim? I claim nothing, sir. The surveillance footage speaks for itself. The surveillance footage. Thelvan pulled up a holographic display. The cafeteria incident played in 3 dimensions, angles from 12 different sensors. Marcus watched himself move, saw the precision of each strike, the economy of motion. It looked more brutal in replay than it had felt in execution. This footage shows a cadet trained far beyond Academy standards, neutralizing 5 opponents in approximately 13.7 seconds. The techniques employed suggest military special forces training, not civilian preparation. Earth's selection process is rigorous, sir. Clearly. Thelvan froze the hologram at the moment Marcus's elbow connected with the Dreknathi's knee joint. This strike? You knew exactly where to hit. Studied their anatomy. Planned for this confrontation. I study all species anatomies, sir. The standard xenobiology curriculum. Xenobiology teaches structure, not vulnerabilities. Thelvin advanced the footage. Yet you struck each opponent at precisely their weakest points. The Corinthian throat gap, the Sulcari nerve cluster, the Velcurin's fragile inner ear. Either you're extraordinarily lucky or extraordinarily prepared. Marcus met the Commandant's gaze. Earth taught us that preparation and luck are often the same thing, sir. For the first time, something like respect flickered across Thelvan's features. Your planet has been independent for barely 2 centuries. Most coalition species required millennia to develop such philosophies. Respectfully, sir, most coalition species didn't spend their entire history fighting themselves. The office door opened without warning. The Velthran guard from the cafeteria entered, moving with fluid grace that suggested extensive biomechanical augmentation. Her uniform bore markings Marcus didn't recognize, symbols that predated the Coalition's standardized insignia system.
Commandant, she didn't salute?
Royal guards acknowledged no authority except their queens. I'm commandeering Cadet Chen under Provision 17 of the Royal Requisition Act. Thelvin's scales shifted pale blue, shock. Provision 17 hasn't been invoked in 300 years. It requires approval from the Coalition Council and it requires the Queen's seal. The guard projected a holographic document that filled the office with crimson light, which I possess. Cadet Chen is hereby transferred to Royal Service, effective immediately. Marcus's heart rate spiked, but his expression remained neutral. Royal Service meant leaving the Academy, possibly leaving human jurisdiction entirely. It meant becoming something other than a Coalition officer. Sir, I don't understand. You're not required to understand, the guard interrupted. You're required to comply. Gather your personal effects. We depart in 1 hour. On what grounds? Thelvan's voice carried enough authority to make even a royal guard pause. You can't simply abduct cadets without cause. Abduct? The guard's laugh was crystalline and cold. I'm recruiting. The Queen seeks individuals with specific capabilities. Cadet Chen demonstrated those capabilities 4 hours ago when he defended himself against coordinated assault. That was a cafeteria dispute, not a combat evaluation. Every moment is an evaluation, Commandant. You should know that better than most. The guard turned her full attention to Marcus. The Queen offers you a choice, human. Accept transfer to Royal Service with full rank preservation and advancement opportunities, or remain at the Academy facing charges of excessive force, possible expulsion, and diplomatic complications that will follow you for years. That's politics. The guard smiled without warmth. The Corinthian ambassador has already filed formal complaints. 3 separate ambassadors are demanding investigations. You've become politically inconvenient for the Academy, but tactically valuable to the Empire. Choose quickly. Marcus looked at Thelvin, searching for guidance. The Commandant's scales had shifted to deep purple. Resignation. I cannot advise you, Cadet Chen. This is beyond my authority. But know that whatever you choose, Earth will stand behind you. We don't abandon our own. Empty words. Marcus had studied coalition politics. Earth was too new, too weak, too desperate for acceptance to challenge a major empire over one cadet. If he refused the Queen's offer, he'd face the consequences alone. What exactly does Royal Service entail? Marcus asked. Classified, the guard replied. But I can tell you this. Queen Velshara seeks warriors who understand violence not as passion but as tool, who can kill without hesitation and sleep without nightmares, who see combat as mathematics rather than glory. Your cafeteria demonstration suggests you possess such qualities. And if I don't want to be that kind of warrior, then you're lying to yourself about what you already are. The guard gestured at the frozen hologram still displaying Marcus's strikes. This isn't someone who fights from anger. This is someone who's calculated exactly how to end threats efficiently. The Queen needs efficiency, Cadet Chen. The Empire needs what Earth has cultivated in its children through centuries of survival in a hostile world. Marcus felt the weight of the decision crushing down. Stay and face political destruction. Leave and become something he didn't fully understand. How long do I have to decide? 53 minutes now. The guard checked a device on her wrist. The transport won't wait. The Queen's time is valuable. And human lives? Marcus heard the bitterness in his own voice. Are those valuable too? That depends entirely on the human. The guard moved to the window, her silhouette dark against Nexus Prime's glow. I've watched 17 species rise and fall during my service. Some valued life too highly and went extinct defending principles. Others valued it too cheaply and destroyed themselves through endless war. Humans are interesting because you seem to understand both extremes simultaneously. You'll die for each other, but kill for survival. You'll sacrifice everything for strangers, but commit atrocities to protect your own. That contradiction makes you either the galaxy's salvation or its greatest threat. We're just trying to survive, Marcus said. All species claim that. Most are lying. The guard turned back, her black eyes reflecting nothing. But you speak truth. I saw it in the cafeteria. You didn't want to fight. But once committed, you executed perfectly. No hesitation. No mercy. No regret. That's rare, Cadet Chen. Rare enough that the Queen noticed. The Queen watched the footage? The Queen watched you. The guard pulled up another hologram. This one showed the cafeteria from an angle Marcus didn't recognize. Somehow closer, more intimate. I've been observing you for 3 weeks. Following your routines. Studying your reactions. The cafeteria incident was simply confirmation of what I already suspected. Ice flooded Marcus's veins. You've been surveilling me? Without authorization? Royal guards require no authorization. The guard dismissed the hologram. And before you feel violated, know that I've surveilled 147 cadets across 12 academies this year. You're the only one who qualified. The only one who demonstrated the specific combination of discipline, violence, and control that the Queen requires. For what? Marcus demanded. You keep talking about what the Queen needs, but won't explain why. The guard glanced at Delvin. Commandant, please exit your office. Delvin's scales flashed bright orange. This is my office, and this is royal business. The guard's tone left no room for argument. You have security clearance level 7. This conversation requires level 1. Leave now or I'll have you removed. For a moment, Marcus thought Delvin might refuse, but centuries of coalition service had taught the commandant when to fight and when to retreat. He rose, his movements stiff with suppressed anger, and walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back at Marcus. Whatever you decide, remember, you represent more than yourself. You represent Earth and every human trying to prove we belong among the stars. Choose with that burden in mind. The door closed. The guard activated a device that made the office walls shimmer. Privacy shield, military grade. Whatever came next, no one outside would hear. The Velthran Empire stands at the edge of civil war, the guard said without preamble. Queen Velshara's cousin has amassed support from 12 noble houses and 6 military legions. He claims the Queen has grown weak, too focused on coalition politics while the Empire's borders collapse under raider attacks. In 48 days, he'll make his move. Challenge her directly. Our intelligence confirms he's already hired assassins. Marcus processed this rapidly. And you need human help because Velthran guards are compromised. Half my order has sworn secret allegiance to the cousin. I can't trust my own people. The guard's voice carried genuine pain. But humans? You have no stake in our politics. No historical allegiances. No genetic loyalty to Velthran noble houses. You're outsiders, which makes you trustworthy precisely because you don't belong. You want me to be a bodyguard? I want you to be the Queen's shadow. Someone who can identify threats I miss. Someone who thinks differently than Velthran minds. The guard stepped closer. I've studied human history. Your wars. You've developed paranoia into an art form. You see betrayal everywhere because it's been everywhere throughout your development. That suspicious nature, it's exactly what the Queen needs. I'm one cadet. You need an army. I need someone I can trust absolutely. Someone with no connections to corrupt. Someone who fights not from honor or loyalty, but from pure tactical assessment. The guard pulled up personnel files. I've watched you interact with other cadets. You don't form friendships easily. You keep distance. You analyze everyone constantly, looking for advantages and threats. Most species view such behavior as paranoid. I view it as professional. Marcus couldn't argue with the assessment. 3 weeks at the academy, and he'd formed no real connections. Every interaction felt like a transaction, every conversation a potential intelligence-gathering opportunity. Earth's selection process had chosen cadets who could survive alone, and survival meant trusting no one completely. If I agree, Marcus said slowly, what happens to my academy position? Suspended, not terminated. If you survive the next 48 days, you'll return with royal commendation. That carries more weight than any academy graduation. You'll be fast-tracked to command positions. And if I don't survive, Then you'll die serving the queen you've never met in a conflict you don't understand. But you'll die as a warrior, not as a political casualty of a cafeteria fight. The guard checked her device again. 41 minutes, Cadet Chen. Choose now. Marcus looked at the window at Nexus Prime rotating below. Somewhere down there, Earth's embassy housed diplomats desperately trying to prove humanity deserved respect. They fought with words and treaties. Marcus had just proven humans could fight with fists and precision violence. Maybe that was more valuable. I want one concession, Marcus said. You're not in position to negotiate. I want Earth officially notified that I'm on assignment, not expelled or under arrest. I want my family to know I'm serving, not disgraced. The guard considered this. Acceptable. Anything else? Yeah. Marcus met her black eyes directly. I want your name. If I'm going to risk my life protecting your queen, I deserve to know who recruited me. For the first time, the guard's expression softened almost imperceptibly. I am Silcaris, First Blade of Queen Velshara, Guardian of the Crimson Throne, witness to 300 years of Imperial history. And you, Cadet Marcus Chen of Earth, are now my responsibility. Lucky me, Marcus said dryly. Silcaris' laugh was genuine this time. Your species' sarcasm is refreshing. Most warriors I recruit are too terrified or too honored to joke. You're neither. I'm just practical. Terror and honor both get you killed. Marcus straightened to attention. I accept the transfer. When do we leave? Immediately. Silcaris deactivated the privacy shield. Gather your belongings. Say no goodbyes. That would raise questions. Meet me at Docking Bay 7 in 30 minutes. Come armed if you have personal weapons. What the Academy issued won't be sufficient. I have a knife, Marcus said. Custom ceramic. Passed through 3 generations of Marines before my grandfather gave it to me. Bring it. Sentiment has no tactical value, but familiar weapons perform better than standard issue. Silcaris moved toward the door, then paused. Once aboard the Royal Transport, you'll undergo loyalty verification. It's invasive, uncomfortable, and absolutely mandatory. If you have secrets you wish to keep, confess them now. What kind of verification? We'll examine your memories, your motivations, your deepest fears. If you harbor treacherous intent or hidden allegiances, we'll know. Silcaris' expression was stone. If you're compromised, you'll be ejected into space before we reach hyperspace velocity. Clean death. No pain, but absolute finality. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Mental scanning was technically illegal under Coalition law, considered a violation of sentient rights. But royal authority superseded such niceties, and if I'm clean, then you'll wake up with the worst headache of your life and complete access to classified information that will make you a target for every intelligence service in the galaxy. Silcaris opened the door. Still interested? Marcus thought about the cafeteria. About Vexthor's mandibles clicking in contempt. About 3 weeks of systematic torment in the Academy's blind eye. About Earth's desperate need for humans to prove themselves worthy. Yeah, he said, still interested. Good. Docking Bay 7, 30 minutes. Don't be late. Silcaris left without another word. Marcus stood alone in the Commandant's office, surrounded by holographic displays still frozen on his cafeteria violence. 13.7 seconds that had changed everything. He wondered if his instructors on Earth had known this would happen, if they'd trained him specifically for moments like this, for choices between academic safety and operational danger. Probably. Earth had always prepared its children for wars they hoped would never come. Marcus was simply the latest weapon they'd forged and sent into the darkness, hoping it would cut in the right direction. He left the office and headed for his quarters. Along the way, cadets stared, some with fear, some with respect, none with understanding. They saw a human who'd won a fight. They couldn't see what that fight had cost or what it had purchased. 28 minutes later, Marcus stood in Docking Bay 7 with a single duffel bag containing everything he owned. His grandfather's knife rested against his hip, its weight familiar and grounding. Silcaris waited beside a transport that looked designed for speed rather than comfort. Sleek black hull, minimal markings, weapons systems that violated several coalition treaties. You came? She said, sounding mildly surprised. I said I would. Humans often say things they don't mean. It's one of your species' more frustrating traits. We also keep promises when they matter. Marcus followed her up the ramp. Inside, the transport was cramped and efficient. No wasted space. No decorative elements. Pure military function. How long to reach the Queen? 17 hours at maximum hyperspace velocity. You'll spend 12 of them unconscious during loyalty verification. The remaining 5 recovering. Silcaris sealed the hatch and moved to the pilot's station. Strap in. Royal transports don't file flight plans or wait for clearance. Marcus secured himself as engines thrummed to life. Through the viewport, the academy grew smaller. Somewhere in there, Commandant Telvan was probably filing reports. Vexthor was probably plotting revenge. Other cadets were probably already forgetting the human who'd appeared and vanished in 3 weeks. None of it mattered now. The transport launched with enough acceleration to make Marcus's vision gray at the edges. Within seconds, they'd cleared the Academy's orbital space. Within minutes, Nexus Prime became a distant light. No turning back now, Silcaris said as she initiated hyperspace calculations. Never planned to, Marcus replied, watching stars stretch into lines as the universe bent around them. Ahead lay a civil war he didn't understand, a queen he'd never met, and a role he wasn't sure he could fill. Behind lay everything he'd worked for, sacrificed, and proven. The choice should have been harder. But as Earth disappeared into the infinite dark, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced since arriving at the Academy 3 weeks ago. He felt necessary. Not just present, not just surviving, but actively needed for something that mattered. Maybe that was worth the risk. Maybe that was why humanity kept reaching for the stars, even when the stars reached back with claws. The transport shuddered as it entered hyperspace, and Marcus Chen closed his eyes, preparing for loyalty verification and whatever came after. His last thought before the scanning began was simple and human. At least no one would mock his lunch where he was going. The pain felt like drowning in ice and fire simultaneously. Marcus's consciousness fragmented across memories he didn't want to revisit. Childhood fights in the Martian colonies, selection trials where candidates were pushed past breaking points, his grandfather's funeral where he'd stood dry-eyed while others wept because Marines didn't cry in public. The loyalty verification dragged everything into the light and examined it with pitiless clarity. When he woke, Silcaris was standing over him with an expression that might have been respect or might have been relief. "You're clean," she said. "Cleaner than most Velthrin nobles I've scanned. No hidden allegiances, no compromising secrets. Just an impressive amount of controlled rage and a pathological need to prove yourself worthy." Marcus's head felt like it had been split open and poorly reassembled. "How long?" 14 hours. You fought the scan harder than expected. Most subjects surrender their consciousness within minutes. You resisted for 6 hours before we forced compliance. Silcaris handed him a flask containing liquid that smelled medicinal. "Drink. It'll help with the neural damage." Neural damage. Marcus took the flask anyway and drank. The liquid tasted like battery acid mixed with regret. "You didn't mention permanent harm. I said it was invasive and uncomfortable. Neural damage is both." Silcaris sat across from him in the transport's cramped cabin. "But it's temporary. Your brain chemistry will stabilize within 12 hours. Until then, expect hallucinations, memory bleed, and emotional dysregulation." Marcus felt tears running down his face despite experiencing no sadness. Emotional dysregulation.
Right.
Where are we? 3 hours from the Velthrin capital. The Queen waits in the palace's secure wing. She'll want to meet you immediately upon arrival. Silcaris studied him with those unreadable black eyes. "What I saw in your memories, Earth's training program is far more brutal than coalition regulations permit. The psychological conditioning alone would violate 17 different sentient rights treaties. We call it preparation, not brutality. You call it whatever helps you sleep. But I understand now why you moved the way you did in that cafeteria. You've been trained since childhood to assess threats and neutralize them without hesitation. Earth is building warriors disguised as explorers." Marcus wiped away tears that kept flowing against his will. "Earth is building survivors. The galaxy's dangerous. We learned that when the Crinthians destroyed our first 3 colony ships and the Coalition did nothing except offer thoughts and sympathies. Ancient history. 50 years isn't ancient to humans. We remember. We always remember." Marcus's vision swam and he saw his grandfather's face superimposed over Silcaris's features. Memory bleed. He blinked hard, and the hallucination faded. "Tell me about the Queen. If I'm going to protect her, I need to understand her." Silcaris pulled up holographic files. Queen Velsara appeared in 3-dimensional glory, tall even by Velthran standards, with skin that shifted between deep purple and black depending on the light. Her eyes held intelligence that cameras couldn't fully capture. "She's ruled for 73 years. took the throne young after her mother's assassination. Reformed trade policies, expanded the Empire's borders peacefully, established diplomatic relations with 16 previously hostile species. She is considered the most progressive monarch in Velthran history, which is why half the nobility wants her dead. Precisely. Progress threatens tradition. The old houses remember when Velthrans were conquerors, not diplomats. They see the Queen's peaceful expansion as weakness. Silcaris advanced the hologram to show the cousin, a male Velthran with scarred features and military decorations covering his chest. Lord Kethvar served in the border wars, earned glory fighting raiders. He represents everything the traditionalists value: strength, aggression, military dominance, and he has popular support. Among soldiers and outer territories, yes. Among intellectuals and core worlds, no. The Empire is divided almost perfectly, which means civil war wouldn't be quick skirmish. It would be prolonged slaughter lasting decades. Silcaris dismissed the hologram. The Queen believes she can avoid war through careful diplomacy and strategic positioning. I believe she's deluding herself. You think war is inevitable. I think Lord Kethvar has gone too far to retreat. He's made promises to his supporters, promised them glory and conquest and return to the old ways. Backing down now would destroy his credibility, so he'll push forward even if it means destroying the Empire in the process. Marcus processed this through a brain still reeling from neural damage. So what's the plan? I guard the Queen until Kethvar makes his move, then what? Then you do what you did in that cafeteria, identify the threat and neutralize it before it can strike. Silcaris leaned forward. The Queen's official bodyguards are ceremonial, skilled but predictable. Assassins can plan around them. But you?
Your chaos factor.
Unknown variable. Kethavar's intelligence network won't have files on you. They won't know your capabilities or limitations. That makes you dangerous in ways my own guards can't match. I'm one human. If Kethvar sends a strike team, then you'll do what humans do best, survive through creativity and controlled violence. Earth didn't reach the stars by being stronger than everyone else. You reach them by being more stubborn and more willing to adapt. Silcaris stood as the transport shuddered, dropping from hyperspace. Through the viewport, a massive planet appeared, Velthros Prime, the Empire's heart. Welcome to the capital, Cadet Chen. Try not to start any diplomatic incidents. The planet was beautiful in a way that made Marcus's chest ache. Azure oceans covered 70% of the surface. Continents spanning cities glowed like circuit boards against the dark landmasses. Orbital stations formed rings that caught sunlight and scattered it in rainbow patterns. This was what Earth aspired to become, a civilization so advanced that poverty and war became historical footnotes. But Marcus saw the military vessels too, dozens of warships in defensive formations, patrol craft running constant sweeps. This wasn't just a capital planet. It was a fortress preparing for siege. The transport received clearance and descended through atmosphere thick with traffic. Other ships gave them wide berth when they saw the royal insignia. Fear or respect, Marcus couldn't tell which. Maybe both. The palace complex covered area the size of a small city. Crystalline towers reached toward orbital altitude, connected by bridges that defied physics. Gardens sprawled across terraces, filled with plant life from 1,000 worlds. Landing pads dotted the structure like scales on a dragon's back. Silcaris set them down on a pad marked with symbols Marcus didn't recognize. As the engines powered down, she turned to him. Final instructions before we disembark. Don't speak unless the Queen addresses you directly. Don't make eye contact unless she grants permission. Don't touch anything, especially not weapons or decorative items that might be weapons. And absolutely don't mention the loyalty verification. That's classified even from the Queen's own advisors. She doesn't know you're scanning people's minds? She knows. She pretends not to know. Palace politics require deniability. Silcaris opened the hatch and humidity rolled in, carrying scents Marcus had never encountered. Stay close. Look dangerous but not threatening. You're my project, which means you're my responsibility. If you embarrass me, I'll personally throw you off the highest tower. Comforting, Marcus muttered, but he followed her down the ramp. The landing pad was crowded with guards in ceremonial armor that looked impressive but impractical. They watched Marcus with expressions ranging from curiosity to disdain. A human in royal service was apparently noteworthy enough to draw attention. Silcaris led him through corridors that made the academy look utilitarian by comparison. Everything gleamed, floors polished to mirror finish, walls embedded with gems that pulsed with bioluminescence, ceilings that displayed starfields in real time. Wealth beyond measure, casually displayed because the Empire could afford casual displays. They passed courtiers in elaborate dress, servants moving with choreographed precision, guards stationed every 20 meters. Marcus tracked them all, cataloging positions, identifying sightlines, noting which guards looked alert and which looked bored. Old habits from Earth's training. Always know your environment. Always find the exits. They stopped at doors that rose 30 feet high, carved with scenes depicting Velthran history. Silcaris placed her hand on a scanner and the doors opened silently. "The throne room," she said. "Remember, don't speak unless spoken to." The room beyond was the size of a sports stadium. The ceiling arched so high that clouds actually formed near the top, precipitation creating artificial rain that fed streams running along the floor. At the far end, elevated on a platform that required ascending exactly 100 steps, sat the Queen. Queen Velshara looked smaller in person than in holograms, but infinitely more dangerous. Her eyes tracked Marcus's approach with predator focus. She wore minimal ornamentation, just a simple crown that seemed to absorb light, but carried herself with authority that needed no decoration. Marcus climbed the steps behind Silcaris, his legs burning by the time they reached the top. The platform held just the throne and enough space for guards. No court. No advisors. This was private audience, which meant either great honor or great danger. "Your Majesty," Silcaris said, kneeling, "I present Cadet Marcus Chen of Earth. He's been vetted and cleared." The Queen's gaze fixed on Marcus. "You may kneel, human." Marcus considered refusing on principle. Humans didn't kneel to foreign monarchs, but practicality won. He took a knee, keeping his head up, maintaining eye contact because not doing so felt like weakness. "Interesting," the Queen said. "Silcaris, you claimed this human could protect me, yet he radiates defiance even while kneeling. How is this protective?" "He radiates honesty, Majesty. I've scanned him thoroughly. He serves not from loyalty but from practical assessment. He believes protecting you serves Earth's interests." "Does it?" The Queen addressed Marcus directly now. "Does protecting me serve Earth, Cadet Chen?" Marcus chose his words carefully. "It serves proving humans can be trusted with responsibility beyond our current status. It serves demonstrating we're more than the primitives many species consider us. Whether that helps Earth specifically or just humanity's reputation, I don't know yet." The Queen's laugh was sharp and genuine. "Honest indeed. Most would offer flowery pledges of eternal loyalty. You offer calculated self-interest." Refreshing. She stood and descended 3 steps, bringing her closer to Marcus's eye level. "I've read reports about your species. Earth has survived extinction events, nuclear wars, climate collapse, and first contact with species that considered you food. You've clawed your way from planetary confinement to coalition membership in just 2 centuries. That suggests either incredible luck or incredible resilience." "Probably both, Majesty. And which do you represent?" "Luck or resilience?" Marcus met her gaze fully now. "I'm still alive despite growing up in the Martian slums, surviving Earth's military selection trials, and fighting 5 opponents at once yesterday. Make your own assessment." Another laugh. "Silcaris, I approve. He's either brilliantly fearless or suicidally stupid. Either quality serves my purposes." The Queen circled Marcus slowly. "Here's what you need to know, human. In 41 days, my cousin will challenge me publicly during the Festival of Unity. Tradition requires I face him personally in combat. If I win, he's disgraced and his rebellion ends without civil war. If I lose, he takes the throne and the Empire descends into traditionalist policies that will undo 70 years of progress." "Can you beat him?" Marcus asked. "In fair combat, perhaps. But Kethvar won't fight fair. He'll cheat, sabotage, poison, anything to ensure victory. That's where you come in. You'll be my eyes for threats I'm too busy to see. My blade for enemies, too subtle for guards to catch. My contingency plan when everything else fails. You're asking me to cheat for you. I'm asking you to prevent him from cheating against me. There's a distinction." The Queen returned to her throne. "You'll have access to palace grounds, but not my private chambers. You'll receive briefings on threats, but not political strategies. You'll be invisible when I need discretion, and visible when I need deterrence. Can you manage such flexibility?" Marcus stood, defiance replaced by professional assessment. "I'll need detailed layouts of the palace, profiles of everyone with access to you, and authorization to go anywhere at any time without explanation." "Granted. I'll need secure communication with Silcaris and veto authority over your schedule if I identify security concerns. Granted with limitations, you can recommend but not command my calendar. And I need formal declaration that I'm acting under your orders if this goes wrong. Earth can't afford diplomatic fallout if I have to kill Velthran nobles. The Queen smiled coldly. Also granted. Anything else? Yeah. Marcus felt the weight of what he was committing to. I need to know what you're not telling me. Because there's always something rulers don't tell their guards. Silence descended. Silcaris tensed. The Queen's expression went flat and dangerous. You presume much, human. I presume nothing. I've studied enough history to know that monarchs keep secrets from everyone, including their protectors. If those secrets get me killed, fine. That's the job. But if those secrets interfere with protecting you, I need to know now. The Queen studied him for a long moment that stretched past comfortable into threatening. Then she nodded slowly. Very well. The secret. My cousin Kethvar is my son. Marcus's brain stuttered. What? Velthran's succession is complex. I bore him but couldn't acknowledge him publicly due to political complications involving his father's house. He was raised by my aunt, believing himself her child and my cousin. He learned the truth 3 years ago and has hated me since. This isn't about tradition versus progress. This is about a son who feels betrayed by a mother who denied him. The implications crashed over Marcus. Civil war driven by family drama. Thousands would die because of lies and secrets spanning decades. Does he want the throne or just want to hurt you? Both. He believes ruling the Empire is his birthright and destroying me is his justice. The Queen's voice carried pain now. So yes, human. There are secrets. And yes, they complicate everything. Can you still protect me, knowing that killing Kethvar means killing my son? Marcus thought about his own family. About his grandfather who trained him to fight but taught him to value life. About Earth's history of children turning against parents over ideologies and borders. Majesty, with respect, if your son is trying to kill you, he stopped being your son.
He became a threat.
I'm very good at dealing with threats. The Queen's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Then we understand each other. Silcaris, take Cadet Chen to his quarters. Provide him everything he requested. And Chen, welcome to service more complicated than any academy prepared you for. Marcus followed Silcaris from the throne room, his head spinning with more than just neural damage. Behind him, the Queen sat alone on her throne, looking small and tired and human despite being neither. 41 days until Festival of Unity. 41 days to prevent civil war by protecting a mother from her son. Marcus had thought the cafeteria was complicated. He'd had no idea what complicated actually meant. As they walked through corridors filled with wealth and secrets, Silcaris spoke quietly. You handled that well. Most would have fled when she revealed the truth. Most weren't desperate to prove their species belongs among the stars. Marcus watched guards watching him. Besides, Earth's first lesson is simple. Everyone's family is complicated and dangerous. Veltrans just have bigger weapons when things go wrong. Silcaris' laugh echoed off crystalline walls, and despite everything, Marcus felt himself smile. Maybe this wouldn't be the disaster he'd expected. Maybe he'd actually survive 41 days protecting a queen from her son while representing humanity's potential. Or maybe he'd die in a palace coup and become a footnote in Earth's embarrassing diplomatic failures. Either way, at least no one would mock his lunch anymore. Small victories mattered when you measured life in dangerous increments, and Marcus Chen had become very good at appreciating small victories while preparing for large disasters.